ವಿಶ್ವದ ಗೀತಾ ಅಂದರೆ ದಿವಾಕರಿಂದ ದೊಡ್ಡೊಂದು ಮಧು ಗೀತಾ ಪಾಪು ನಂಜುಂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ
ಬತ್ತೂರಿ ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಮ್ಮಿ.
ನಂಜುಂಡ ಗೊತ್ತಾನೆ
ನಂಜುಂಡ
ತಾಯಿ ಗೀತಾ
ಬಸವಪಟ್ನ
ವಿಶ್ವದ
ಬೇರೆನೇ ಚಾನಲ್
ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ.
ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು. ಓಕೆ ನೀವು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ಗಿಡತ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿದೆಯಾ?
ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡೋದು ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ.
ಉದಾ ಲಿಂಕಿಂದ ಕಟ್ಟುವ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೊತೆ ಪಾಪ ಅವಳ ಅಮ್ಮ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅವಳಿಂದ
Please take your seats.
ಗೊತ್ತು ಹೆಬ್ಬಿ ದೂರು ಹಾ ಐ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್
दूरितदंडे लेके सुस्तान ಬೇರೆ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಓಡಾಡೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾ
So that you know what's going on here. Thank you. May we start? Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gananam Tva Ganapathi Havamahe Brahmanaspata Anashrinvannotibhyah Seedasadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ano Divo Brihatah Parvatada Sarati Shadmanno Vaachana Shrunotu Vagdevyai Namaha. Om Namaste and welcome to this special edition, second edition of Kumarasambhavam, Mahakavi Kalidasa's Kumarasambhavam program. Today we will be presenting the seventh sarka, seventh canto named Parvati Parinayam. So I will ask Dr. Pratap Simha to introduce the program. The description will actually have the link for the previous one, part 1 as well. So he will briefly describe the story so far before entering and the seventh sarga for today. With that, I welcome Dr. Pratap Simha to do the Vyaakhyaanam today. So Dr. Pratap Simha works as an engineer in Intel Corporation, and the Vaachana today will be done by Chiranjeevi Sumanth Ganapathi. So he is a first year student at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and so he will be accompanied on the violin by Kumari Aparna. She is a second year student at UC Davis. With that, please enjoy the program. Really appreciate. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube, in case you have any technical difficulty, please use the chat to communicate with us. With that, Pratap, please take it.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, and a warm welcome to all of you who have come this far, and also those who are watching this program online on YouTube. My sincere thanks to the Basavapatna family for hosting this, and always being so enthusiastic about literature, arts, music, and everything Indian. So this presentation is history of over 1,000 years and references in literature from then. And in this, a literary piece is usually sung to a raga, usually without a tala. And there is a Vyaakhyaana, a commentator, who explains the verse, and also the remaining story and some interesting tidbits around it. And it can be entertaining, it can be educative, anywhere in between, depending on the commentator and the audiences. Okay, so typically this is done mostly for Kannada works like Kumarasambhavam or Jaimini Bharata being the two most popular works that is practiced today. But there are also lots of cases where this is done for Sanskrit works and Telugu works and so on. So the presentation today is the seventh sarga of Mahakavi Kalidasa's Kumarasambhavam. Kumarasambhavam is the story of the birth of Kumara or Skanda, and the story starts off with Tarakasura tormenting the Devas. So the Devas seek refuge in Brahma, who advises them to go seek help from Shiva, because the only solution is that Shiva and Parvati's son, Kumara, is the only one who can slay Tarakasura. So the Devas try. Shiva is doing penance in the Himalayas, Parvati is assisting him in his tapas, and the Devas try to disturb his penance. They send Kamadeva so that he falls in love with Parvati, but Kama is burnt to ashes. Shiva is not disturbed, and he walks away from the penance grove. Parvati decides to seek the love of Shiva on her own, but she decides to do it through intense tapas in the fifth sarga, a very beautiful one. And at the end of the fifth sarga, Shiva appears in the guise of a brahmachari and tests Parvati, and she answers everything that makes Shiva also fall in love with Parvati, and Shiva says yes to Parvati. In the sixth sarga, we had a presentation on the sixth sarga here a few months ago, and the link to the sixth sarga can be found in the description of the YouTube presentation, this one, in the description. In the sixth sarga, Shiva sends the Devarshis, the Saptarshis, to go ask Himavanta for Parvati's hand in marriage. So that is the story of the sixth sarga. So the Saptarshis meet Himavanta and Mena, and Himavanta is overjoyed and agrees for the marriage of Parvati with Shiva. The Saptarshis set the marriage for 3 days later. So it is just 3 days after the Vaadana or the Nishchitartha. So now we come to the seventh sarga, which is a very eventful sarga. It is the celebration of the marriage with all the pomp, splendor and glory of the bridal party, which is Parvati of the Himavanta's clan, and the Devas, who are part of the groom's party. And let us now go directly to the scene of the marriage and see what is happening.
वैवाहिकैः कौतुकसंविधानैः गृहे गृहे व्यग्रपुरन्ध्रिवर्गम् गृहे गृहे व्यग्रपुरन्ध्रिवर्गम् आसीत् पुरं सान्मतोऽनुरागात् आसीत् पुरं सानुमतोऽनुरागात् अन्तःपुरं कुलोपमेयम्
We enter the scene of the marriage directly with the auspicious Kalyani Raga. Vaivahikaih Kautuka Samvidhanaihi, the auspicious marriage ceremony. And how the whole festivity and the atmosphere was, Kalidasa describes it very concisely in just one or two verses. But this verse is so beautiful that it captures the atmosphere not just of that place, of the palace where she is, which is Himavanta's home, but also of the city. He says, Asit Puram Antahpuram cha ekakulopameyam. Puram is the city, which is Oshadhiprastha, the capital of Himalayas. And Antahpuram is the palace of Himavanta. And they both, Asit Puram Antahpuram cha ekakulopameyam, they both were alike. So what does he mean by that, and how is he trying to convey this? All the festivity, if you take the city, Puram, everybody in the city was overjoyed. They were taking part in the wedding as though it was their own daughter who was getting married. So the festivity was there in the entire city. And how was the Antahpuram? The Antahpuram was like the city because everybody from the city, people from all quarters were congregated in the palace. And they were taking part in it, they were involved in it somehow, some arrangement, doing something, helping out in something. And this is I shouldn't say this was very common until maybe 2 decades, 3 decades ago, when marriages were just done like this. It was just done with the help of relatives, friends, and in the house, in the house of the bride. And today everything is contracted out. There is a caterer, there is somebody else, you do the whole thing in a chaudhary or a kalyana mantapa. Even though, I recently heard that there are even people who go and invite guests on your behalf. They are not connected to the wedding. They are contracted out. They go to every house and invite, and they have nothing to do with the wedding. So that's how disconnected we have become. But I think most of us here have seen this just 2-3 decades ago. Right? And recently, Prasanna Ganapathi was saying that he read Namma Oorin Rasikaru, where you can see also such scenes where different people come into one house, and the whole city also is like one house. And I was just thinking about that. And grihe grihe, which is like every house, that grihe grihe, that virukti, when he repeats it twice, right? Every house they had that kind of festivity in the air. This is like the dhwani is that they all loved Himavanta, and he was such a good king, and you can find all these kind of intonations there. And they loved him, and they wanted to be part of the wedding. And also, this is there was also a concept, Nammurina Magulu. So the girl belongs to the whole city, and they were marrying off their girl from this city. It was not from somebody's house, and they were just going as guests. And all these kind of tones emanate from this verse. And also he says some other things like how the city looked, and there's a word that he uses, Chinan Shukaih Kalpita Ketumalam. Chinan Shuka is exactly Chinese silk, so it must have been quite popular in Kalidasa's time too. I don't know whether he says it was good or bad, but there was China silk even then, which was being used for banners and toranas everywhere in the city. And the whole city, Oshadhiprastha, looked as though Sthanantaram Swarga Ivabhabhase. It looked like another heaven, not another heaven, but transplanted heaven. Not a second heaven, because if there is a second one, there is another one like that. So he says, Sthanantaram, that itself, Swarga has been transplanted here, and that was the festivity and the like the brilliance that the city emanated. And also he says one small thing, one verse where about how close Parvati was to many people. Ankadhyaya ankamudiritashi. This is such a beautiful. In one samasa he says something. Parvati was so beloved by everybody there. This, you also see this in several families where if there is a girl, like a baby girl, nobody wants to put her down from their lap. When somebody is carrying the girl and then they say, I want to, let go of her. They say, hey, I'll keep her on my lap for a while. So Parvati grew up just from lap to lap. Ankad Yayau Ankamudiritashi. From lap to lap, just between transferring lap to lap, she grew up. And that is how close she was to everyone there. And that shows why the atmosphere was like this and why she was so loved by everyone. And then we see how the wedding celebrations and the preparations are coming along.
संपर्कमुपेत्य बाला नवेन दीक्षाविधिसायकेन नवेन दीक्षाविधिसायकेन करेण भानुर्बहुलावसाने करेण भानुर्बहुलावसाने सन्धुक्ष्यमाणेव शशाङ्खलेखा सन्धुक्ष्यमाणेव शशाङ्खलेखा.
So this is the day of the wedding, and Parvati is getting ready for her wedding, and all the relatives there are prepping her. They're involved in these activities, and one of the things is the abhyanjana, or the ritual bath. Right? Some of these things now are done the previous day. Our weddings have now, spilled over to multiple days. They were Samaradne, Nandi, Varapuje, spread across because of various reasons of the modern world. But this was just a one-day wedding, and she's getting ready for her bath. And so the poet says that Gaura Siddhartha Nimeshavadbihi, they anointed her with all the oils and the pastes. The Gaura Siddhartha is the white mustard paste, and they dressed her up in a special dress set for the Abhyanjana, which is the bath. Abhyanga Nepatya Malanchakara, and she held Upatta Banam. She held an arrow in her hand during the bath. This has a special significance, because in the Manusmriti it says Sharah Kshatriyaya Grahyaha Pratodo Veshya Kanyaya, so on. So a Kshatriya girl has to hold an arrow. It signifies that she is a Kshatra Kanya, and that is how she gets married, and how different castes, what they should hold, and some of these. And Kalidasa does not even let slide such minor details. And then Babhaucha Samparkam Upetya Bala, when she held the arrow, Diksha Vidhisayakena, for the wedding as prescribed by the rituals. Everything was done per the prescribed rituals, Diksha Vidhi. She shone like Sandhukshyamana. She radiated as though she were on fire, or as though it was on fire. The arrow that she held, the thin arrow, the poet compares it to the Shashanka Lekha, the moons, the Pratipat. On the Padya, you see the thin line of the moon, and the Bana is compared to that, the arrow is compared to that, and as though the sunlight falls on the moon, on the Pratipat, and then the moon is so bright, but it's so thin, and that's how she was, and that's how it radiated. And the Shashanka Lekha is also the digit on Shiva's head. He's Chandrachuda, and it is so apt of a comparison here that he makes. And then they also anoint her with some other pastes like Lodhra Kalka, some other and oils, and then they use some of these pastes to remove the oils. And the whole Abhyanjana is something that it's probably lost today. I advise people who can read Kannada to read Ajjayana Abhyanjana by Kuvempu in his lovely book Malenadina Chitragalu. How Kuvempu describes the ritual bath on a Sunday and how his grandfather takes a bath. It was a full day event, taking a bath, bisi neer enne snana with hande and everything, and you have to read how the bathroom looks. And it's a pathetic state that we are in, where we have a 3x5 glazed porcelain bathroom where the bath is more like people just sprinkling water or something, right? We've lost some of the leisure in life. I think that's what I feel from this. And he also goes on to describe the bathroom, everything in detail, Vinyasta Vaidurya, with all the jeweled bathrooms and everything. And after the bath, let's see how Parvati appeared.
पत्युद्गमनीय वस्त्रा निर्वृत्त पर्जन्य जलाभिषेका निर्वृत्त पर्जन्य जलाभिषेका प्रफुल्लकाशा वसुधेव रेजे प्रफुल्लकाशा वसुधेव रेजे.
So Parvati appears from the ritual bath. The word bath, I'm finding it very hard because you have to use some native words to describe these things. Bath signifies something totally different in today's world. So with the Mangala Snana, the Vishuddha Gatri, she was completely purified. Grihita Patyudgamaniya Vastra. She dressed in the clothes that she was supposed to meet her husband, Shiva. And now that this is behind her, this is just reportage, right? I mean, this line is nothing. Okay, she finished her bath and then she wore a dress. That is just not poetry. That is probably just journalism or some reporting. So Kalidasa has to make it something else. And then he makes it in the second part of the verse. Nirvritta Parjanya Jalabhisheka Praphulla Kasha Vasudheva Reje. She shone like the earth, like Vasudha, like Bhumi, Reje. She shone, she radiated. And how? Nirvritta Parjanya Jalabhisheka. Parjanya is the rain. And the rains have just stopped. Nirvritta, rains have stopped. Nirvritta Parjanya Jalabhisheka. And just after the rains, if you see, the earth is green, there is like a beautiful smell everywhere, everything is purified and it's all fresh and there is a lot of energy in the air, and that is exactly how she was. And with the dress that she was wearing, he makes another very beautiful, he brings another thing here, the Praphulla Kasha. In the rainy season or when it rains a lot, the grass grows about, like 2-3 feet tall, and some of these grasses at the end, they have these small white flowers, like the small white thing. It's not a flower per se, but it's like small white things, and that is how she looked. And the greenery of the earth is like, like sort of, maybe the dhvani is the fertility, because she is going to bear Kumara, who is going to slay Tarakasura and Gandavati Prithvi, and there is so much of meaning here. And the poet says, he just brings this one imagery and it's complete. And what the bath was supposed to mean and what it signifies and everything is just signified by the one line. And after the bath, now they have to, again get her ready for the marriage event. So the other ladies, the Pativratavihi Parigrihya Ninye, they take her to a place where, where some kind of a mandapam, where there is a canopy. Vitana Vantam Yuktam. Vitana is a canopy, some canopy place or some mandapa where they'll decorate her, make her ready for marriage and so on. And let us see what they did.
प्रसाधने सन्निहितेऽपि नार्यः प्रसाधने सन्निहितेऽपि नार्यः क्षणं व्यलम्बन्त।
Tam Prammukhim Niveshya Tanmim. So they took her, they took her there to the canopy and then made her face east, Prammukhim. Why? Because Mangalye Prammukhim Bhavet. Anything auspicious, you have to face east. These are I just try to highlight some of the details because they are just so effortlessly placed by Kalidasa. Nimeshyatannim kshanam vyalambanta puro nishannaha. Just for a second, they forgot what they were supposed to do. And the reason he gives is Bhutartha Shobha Kriyamana Netra Prasadane Sannihitepi Naryaha. These Pativrataha, these ladies who took her there, Bhutartha Shobha, Bhutartha is like her physical beauty, that Laukika beauty that she has, Shobha Kriyamana Netra, their eyes, Kriyamana, they have experienced some lajja. I mean, like, what can we do with her? How do you do any alankara to her? Because she is such a Nirabharana Sundari. What alankara can you do? The word alankara itself is alamkar. Alankaroti iti alankaraha. Alam means enough. Saku, enough. And you do alankara till you say enough. Because if you do after that, there is negative returns. It's not good. So you should do enough till there is, you see some benefit. And they don't know what to do. I mean, what do we even do? And these are not professional makeup artists, right? They're not like today. So they're all her aunts and dodamas, chikamas and whoever, right? Attes. And they have been seeing her every day, but still they are stunned. Oh, what can we do to her? How can we what makeup do we do? And how do we get her ready? And this is a very beautiful example of Shobha Tishaya. This is the Atishaya Shobha, so beautiful that nothing else can add to that beauty. It will just destroy it. Then they go through some ritual motions, like okay, she has just had a bath, so they need to dry her hair. And no, they did not have hair dryers, so they used samrani. Samrani is I don't know what it's called in, it's just called dhupa, but it's a gum resin from a plant that is burned in, with some charcoal. We usually do it in an iron pan or something in the house, and it emits smoke, thick gusts of smoke with very fragrant smoke, and then ladies dry their hair in that, and it used to be very common a couple of decades ago. By the way, please don't try this at home. You'll trip all the fire alarms here. It emits that much of smoke here. Okay, so they dried her hair, and then again he describes her beauty. Her beauty, Lagnadvirepam paribhuya padmam samegalekam shashinashcha bimbam. He compares her face to a lotus. Lotus faced Parvati, and some of her forelocks, her hair, was still, askew. It was just falling over her face. And the poet compares her face to the moon and her locks to the passing clouds. So it is like, when a couple of clouds are passing in front of the moon that you see, they just go away, but it looks even more beautiful, and that's how she looked. And some of you who are old enough to know what a sadhana cut is will immediately get it. Okay? So maybe he's talking about that. And also the other thing is that he again compares her to, so he compares her face to a lotus and the forelocks to a string of bees buzzing in front of a lotus. He does both of these in just one small verse, and her beauty put to shame both of these things. Such a beautiful lotus flower with a string of bees buzzing around it, and the beautiful full moon with some small cloud passing in front of it. These two imageries were put to shame in front of her beauty. And of course there is another thing that will please a lot of people. They do another thing to Parvati. Rekha vibhakta suvibhakta gatrya kinchin madhuchishta vimrishta ragaha. Madhuchishta vimrishta ragaha. Madhu is the bee. Madhu uchishta, what the bee gives out, is the wax, beeswax. Uchishta ragaha, basically he's saying it's the lipstick. So Madhu uchishta ragaha is lipstick. So they did touch up her lips with some lipstick, all natural, maybe not like today, but made with beeswax, and just to highlight her lips. And then he says, Spuritair apushyat asanna lavanya phaloda roshtaha. Spuritaihi apushyat. When they did that, her lips were just throbbing ever so slightly. The tremulous, quivering lips were so beautiful that they added so much more beauty to her face, and even they had to take back a step and look at her and appreciate her again and again. And the poet goes on about this. So then we see. So now when all this kind of makeup is going on, there are a lot of people in the room, and there are friends, there are her close family, and Parvati is still young. Of course, she has sakhis and friends. And let's see what some of the sakhis do.
शिरश्चन्द्रकलामनेन स्पृशेति सख्या परिहासपूर्वम् पत्युशिरश्चन्द्रकलामनेन स्पृशेति सख्या परिहासपूर्वम् निर्वचनं जघाना माल्येन तां निर्वचनं जघाना.
This is where Kalidasa excels and makes a Shravya Kavya into a Drishya Kavya. The imagery here is fantastic. Patyushiraschandra kalamanena sprisheti. What this Sakhi, there is a Sakhi here, a very naughty Sakhi, a friend. Okay? And what she's saying is Ranjayitva charanau patyuhu shiraschandra kalamanena sprishayati. Parvati has already anointed, somebody has, decorated her feet with alatige, alaktaka, or in English they call it alta, what dancers wear, the red color to their feet, right? So she's already decorated with that. So that friend is saying, Shirash Chandra Kalam Anena Sprisha. So your husband, Patyuhu, your husband Shiva's head is adorned with a Chandra Kala, like a Chandra. Touch that with your feet, with this red feet. Okay? Touch that. Iti Sakhi Parihasa Purvam. She's teasing her, taunting Parvati. What does it mean? Right? I mean, how will Parvati touch that? Or what is the scenario here? What she's saying is, you will do something and you will become angry and Shiva will try to please you and he'll beg you and he'll fall at your feet. And when Shiva falls at your feet, the Chandra on your head will touch your feet, on his head will touch your feet, and then the Chandra will turn red. And she says, somehow do something, become angry, taunt Shiva so that he falls at your feet. She's pulling her friend's leg. And what did Parvati do to that when her friend said that? Malyena tam nirvachanam jaghana. She hit her, jaghana. She hit her, but Malyena, she had a garland, some flower garland that he had. She hit her with the flower. If she were really angry, she would have hit her. So Parvati is not angry. She wants such friends. She wants such friends to tease her. But she does not want, she is shy. So she hit her friend, but only with just a flower garland. Okay, hey, go, why are you doing this? But nirvachana, she did not say anything. That is, she did not say anything. By not saying anything and that beautiful imagery, this is so rich for Abhinaya. I think your dancers can do something like this. See, the less said, the better sometimes, right? Music is not two notes, it's the silence between two notes, right? So sometimes the poet should not say everything. He has to leave some things unsaid where we can make our own imaginations. And I'm probably spoiling the imagination for you by, through mine, but if you read, you will probably imagine the scene in a different way. You will feel like, you'll remember some wedding that you attended, some intimate cousin's wedding or sister's wedding. These things echo us. I mean, this is like an uninterrupted tradition of 2000 years from Kalidasa, and we still see the same things playing out in our lives in weddings today. And this is such a famous verse that so many great Alankarikas, aestheticians have quoted this. Rajashekhara and his Kavya Mimamsa for Vachohasa Narma, and Dhananjaya and his Dasharupaka in Natya Darpana, because how beautiful, how right this is for Abhinaya, for dancers, and the Husi Kopa, like the fake anger that Parvati demonstrates for her friend, is so beautifully done here. And in one way, I mean, I don't think the poet means this, but you can also think that, okay, this is the Parvati before marriage, and if you imagine maybe 5 years, 10 years later, and the friends meet, what happens, right? I mean, there is a story by Masti called Hemakuta Dinda Banda Mele, where Shakuntala comes back to Kanva's ashrama, where Priyamvada and Anasuya are still there, but Shakuntala has now gone off with Dushyanta. Things change. But this is Parvati today, and this is like Shakuntala with Priyamvada and Anasuya in Kanva's ashrama. We of course don't know what happens later, but the imagery is fantastic.
स्मितायताक्षी हरोपयाने त्वरिता बभूव हरोपयाने त्वरिता बभूव स्त्रीणां प्रियालोकफलो हि वेषः
So after all this, Atmanam alokya cha shobhamanam. Now Parvati wants to see Atmanam alokya. She wants to see herself. Which girl wouldn't like to see herself after all the makeup? Everybody does, right? Atmanam alokya cha shobhamanam. Adarsha bimbe stimitāyatākshi. Adarsha is the darpana or the mirror. So she holds a mirror and looks at her. And now he does not say that there are other people around, somebody else is holding the mirror, because you're most comfortable when you're alone, looking at oneself in front of the mirror. And so what happens when she sees herself in the mirror is haropayane tvarita babhuva. She's now more eager to meet Shiva. Haropayane. She can't wait to meet Shiva. Why? The poet gives a great reason. Strinam priyaloka phalo hi veshaha. The purpose of their vesha, of their alankara, is to please the lover, the priyatama, the husband here. So this may sound controversial, but if you think at it, there is a saying in Kannada, Uta kaniche nota parariche. So when we eat something, we have to eat what pleases us. You can't keep eating what somebody says because they like it, right? It's very obvious. But nota parariche. I mean, we need personal space. I want to be comfortable. I want to wear something comfortable. But after you once see yourself in the mirror, you can't see what you're wearing. It's not for you, it's for others. It's for others who see you, and every minute they have to either put up with it or enjoy it. Depends on what you're wearing. Right? So it's better that they can enjoy what you're wearing, and there should be some propriety, everything, which somewhat seems to be, we seem to be swaying away from that. But the purpose of making herself up is to please others and is to look beautiful in the eyes of her lover, which is what he's saying. Strinam priyaloka phalo hi veshaha. So, and she also does another alankara, and let's see how she applies the Kadige.
सुजातोत्पलपत्रकान्ते प्रसाधिकाभिर्नयने निरीक्ष्य तस्याः सुजातोत्पलपत्रकान्ते प्रसाधिकाभिर्नयने निरीक्ष्य न चक्षुषोः कान्तिविशेषबुद्ध्या न चक्षुषोः कान्तिविशेषबुद्ध्या कालाञ्जनं मङ्गलमित्युपात्तम् कालाञ्जनं मङ्गलमिति उपात्तम्
I'm also applying Kadige, the collyrium or the eyeliner, right, to her eyes. Her Sujatotpala Patra Kante, her Battal Gannu, they say Battal Gannu or Agalavada Gannu. So it is like the lotus leaves, white, bright, and a big eyes. Lotus-eyed Parvati. Prasadikabhihi Nayane Nirikshya, the Prasadikas or the ones who are doing the makeup, they saw her eyes, and she's brought the Kadige, she wants to put it on her eyes. And then they decided, Nachakshusho Kanti Vishesha Buddhya. No, this will not improve anything because her eyes are already so beautiful. But they still applied it because Kalanjanam Mangala Mityupatam. Shastrake, we say Shastra Kunchuru. Yes, Yele Tudik Shastra Kunchuru, Kunchur Paisa Ashte. So you put something just for Shastra, for namesake, just to show that it's done. It's a checkbox, you just do it. And that's what they did. They had to apply it, so they just touched it or just did some action like this but did not apply because it would spoil her beauty. She was so beautiful. And why does he say this? The Kalanjana Mangala Mityupatam. The Kalanjana is supposed to be very auspicious because so a lot of these things actually come in the Rigveda, the 10th mandala of the Rigveda. The 85th sukta is called the Vivaha Sukta. It is the marriage of Surya Devi, Surya Savitri, the daughter of the Surya, and Soma, with Soma. So Surya Savitri marries Soma. And even today, some of the mantras from there those are the ones that are recited during the marriage. And there, it's a very beautiful narration. This is Surya Savitri herself saying about her marriage. That's what the sukta is. And she says, Chittira Upavarhanam Chakshura Bhyanjanam, so on. So she says she went to her husband's house with Chittira Upavarhanam. Upavarhana is the pillow. Is a pillow, but when I say, I can explain it better with the Kannada word, which is Taledimbu. Taledimbu is actually Talege Imbu. Imbu is support. Imbu is something which supports. Talege Imbu has just become Taledimbu. So something which supports the head is Taledimbu. So Chittira, what she took as her pillow was her mind, Chitti, which means her mind was so strong that is what supported her when she went to her husband's house. She is not taking physical objects from her father's house, but she's taking her mind, and like the sun and the moon are the things that are forgetting the word, that they give to the bride. They give a lot of things to the bride as a gift when she goes to set up her new home, and so on. So everything in that sutta is so metaphorical. It appears as though they're talking about physical objects, but they're not. She's depending on her mind, her intellect, and that is what supports her. And then the next line is Chakshura Bhyanjanam. The eyes became her eyes. So this is like a very cryptic thing, and even I did not know. I had to look at some bhashya for this, where it says when Indra fought Vritra, Indra kills Vritrasura, one of his pupils drops off, the Kaninika drops off on a mountain, and that becomes a plant, and the Kadige is apparently made from that plant. So that is why it is so auspicious, because it's the plant that grew from Indra's pupil, and that's how the story is. I think it comes somewhere in the Taittiriya Samhita or somewhere. So that is why it is auspicious, and they had to put it. So you just put a dot somewhere and go with it. So Kadige is supposed to be very auspicious. So now she's completely done. Her makeup is done, everything is done. Now her mother, Parvati's mother, Mena, comes in and applies Haritala Madram and Manashila. So she also applies some things, and the Manashila is very interesting. Actually, Manashila is a paste made of arsenic. And today we know arsenic is very toxic. But surprisingly, arsenic paste was used till the middle of the 20th century in the Western world by many cosmetic companies. And can you guess for what? To flush the cheeks, for rouge. So that is what brings that pinkish tinge. And they used to use arsenic, and that is what he's saying. Manashila is exactly arsenic paste. And Katanchit. She did Katanchit Diksha Tilakam Chakara. Somehow she's finding it very difficult the mother, she's thinking of the impending, you know, like the daughter is just going to go away. Even though, Himalaya is right here and Kailasa, the groom's house is right next door. Even though like the bride is from Chamrajpete and the groom is in Basavapatna, and you can see the groom's vehicle and its parking shed, Basavapatna right there, right? Still, it is so symbolic that she's going to go away that Mena is struggling to do that. And the poet says something so beautiful. So the mother ties the kankana, right? And she says, Urnamayam kautuka hasta sutram. The Mangala Hasta Sutra, that you tie to the hand, right, for the bride and the groom, the mother ties it to the daughter. Urna means unne or the wool. So the Kannada word unne has come from urna, the tadbhava of urna. So she ties it to her daughter. But this is so beautiful. Sthanantare kalpita sannivesham dhatrangulibih pratisaryamanam. She has to tie it here. She has to tie the kankana right here. Because her eyes are brimming with tears, she's tying it in the wrong place, somewhere up near the elbow or somewhere. She can't see clearly. And Dhatranguli with Pratisaryamanam. So there is somebody else with her, a Dhatri, some Dodama or somebody else, somebody who's helping her, and they are like Pratisaryamanam. They are like, no, here. This is such a poignant scene where the mother's eyes is filled with tears and she cannot cry because it's an auspicious occasion, and such a very beautiful scene, and the nuance captured by Kalidasa is indeed fantastic. And then she also makes sure that Parvati, this is the precursor of today's Gauri Puja, where she makes Parvati go and do pranama. Tamarchitabhyah kuladevatabhyah kulapratistham pranamaya mata. So the Kuladevatas and the Kulapratishtha, the elders, she makes them, Parvati prostrate before them. But he says a very nice word. Akarayat karayitavya daksha. So Mena, I said, karayitavya daksha, sa Mena akarayat. So she got it done, akarayat. She made her do it. But the word karayitavya daksha, one who is adept at making others do it. This is an art. Most people don't have that art. If we say something, it comes out as an order or it comes out as a request. There is some nudging that you make, right? Especially an errant child, you can't make them do anything. But she is a karayitavya daksha. She knows how to get things done, right? So that is so beautiful. And Mena does all this. And when she prostrates before all the elders bless her wholeheartedly. Akhanditam prema.
अखण्डितं प्रेमलभस्व पत्युः अखण्डितं प्रेमलभस्व पत्युः इत्युच्यते ताभिरुमास्म तया तु तस्यार्धशरीर भाजा तया तु तस्यार्धशरीर भाजा पश्चात्कृता स्निग्धजनाशिशोऽपि
So when Parvati prostrated and bowed down to all the elders there, they bless her. Chanagirama, ella olledagli, may everything good happen to you. They said, Akhanditam prema labhasva patyuhu. May you attain the complete, love and blessing and all the happinesses that come, with it. May you attain everything. Ityuchyate tabhiruma smanamra. But what happened? Taya tu tasyardha sharira baja paschatkrita snigdha janashishopi. But what did Parvati do? They said, you get all the blessings and love from your husband. But she did something which left their blessings far behind and she became half his body. Tasyardha sharira bhaja. If you look at this, when you ask for blessings, let us take some example, right? So you go and bow down before some grandmother or some grandparents or someone. They say, let us say some old people. They say like, oh, first class will pass go. May you pass with first class honors. But what is first class today? Right? But it's not like they are wishing you something back. They are wishing you what they thought was the maximum that anybody can attain. That may you get the love from your husband. Right? But they don't know. They are not meaning it badly. But that's what they know. And they are giving their full blessings. But she took it not a notch but a level above and they became Ardhanarishwara. She just did not attain the love of Shiva, but she just became half his body and they became inseparable. Like Vagartha viva samprukta, Vagartha pratipattaye, Jagatah pitaro, Mata pitaro, Parvati parameshwara. Right? So she became half his body. And there's so many beautiful verses about this, but the blessings and the innocence of the person blessing here, the tone and what she achieved, right? It's not like, there is a huge chasm there between the two, but it's natural. I mean, sometimes we don't know what somebody can achieve, but we still say, let everything, whatever we think is the best, we say, let that happen to you, but they go on to achieve something much, much more. And that is what Parvati did. So now that all this side, on the girl's side, everything is done, her father, Himavanta, he gathered everyone and then now he's going, forward with everybody to wait for the groom's party to come. And you don't want to be late when the groom's party is coming, so you should wait for a few minutes, which is achara. So he takes everyone and moves forward to the outside the palace and then they go to the city gates. And let's see what's happening in Shiva's camp. After all the makeup done for Parvati, Kalidasa has to do it for Shiva too. Shiva just can't walk in, right? That's not fair. So he has to do some makeup. So Shiva's makeup is in Shankara's Abharana. And So now in Shiva's party, all this is happening in the Kubera Shaila or somewhere near Alakapuri, on the bank or on the lower slopes of the Kailasa. And the Sapta Matrikas, they're like the mothers, right? The Sapta Matrikas bring in all the decorative articles and everything, and then they place everything before Shiva. Now, any other poet would have done the same kind of alankara to Shiva. Any other poet would have done the same ornamentation to Shiva. Kalidasa is different for a reason. So what he does, when they bring all this Gauravan Mangala Mandana Shrihi, when they brought all these Mangala Mandana, all these auspicious things for decoration for Shiva, Ishwarena Kevalam Pasprishe, he just touched all that. Ishvara just touched all that. Then what happened? It's not like touching and saying, yes, I agree. No. When he touched that, he was still the same, but all the ornaments, for the people seeing him, it appeared as though he was wearing the ornaments. How do you decorate one who is the Parama Vairagya Murti, one who has given up everything, one who all the sannyasis look up to, that they want to be like him? How do you dress him up, and how can you dress him up? And this is what Kalidasa does. So for the people who want to see him, he'll appear as they want. And in this instance, he will appear as if he's dressed with or whatever colors and everything and garish clothes. If that is what they want, he's just going to appear like that. Otherwise, nothing else has changed. Nothing has changed. And the poet goes on to say what all transformations took place and how it appeared. Babhuva bhasmaiva sitanga ragaha. He's smeared ash all over his body. The ash became sitanga ragaha, like sandal powder or white powder, whatever you use. And then kapola meva mala shekharasrihi, when he holds the gori, kapalas, they became like the shekharasrihi, some kind of, like a kirita or an ornament for the head. And upanta bhageshu sa rochanamko gajajinasyaiva dukula bhavaha. Now Shiva's dress is a gajajina, a freshly cut up elephant's skin dripping in blood. That is what he drapes, right? That became a dukula. It appeared like a nice dress, and the dripping blood at the end, the upanta bhaga is the border. It became as though it was a jari border with all kinds of rochanamka and all designs. And it appeared like that. And the third eye, the gori third eye, looked like a yellow tilaka, like a beautiful yellow auspicious tilaka. And this is how the transformation happens. And let us see what other transformations took place.
यथा प्रदेशं भुजगेश्वराणां करिष्यतामाभरणान्तरत्वं शरीरमात्रं विकृतिं प्रपेदे तथैव तस्थुः फणरत्नशोभा तथैव तस्थुः फणरत्नशोभा दिवापि निष्ठ्यूतमरीचिभासा दिवा मरीचिभासः बाल्यादनाविष्कृतलाञ्छने चन्द्रेण नित्यं प्रतिभिन्नमूल्ये चन्द्रेण नित्यं प्रतिभिन्नमूल्ये चूडामणे किं ग्रहणं हरस्य चूडामणे किं ग्रहणं हरस्य
Shiva's abharanas are the bhujagas, are the snakes. So he wears wristlets, armlets, like waistbands, everything made of snakes, and that's how he dresses up. So what happened to those snakes? Right? Bhujageshwaranam yatha pradesham. They all just turned to ornaments right there. They all just started like, if whatever he's wearing here, it looks like a keyura. Whatever here, like a wristband, or whatever he's wearing here, like a mekhala or something like that, right? So whatever he's wearing, the snakes appeared just like the ornaments that are supposed to be worn there. Now there is another part to this. There is also something called the ratna on the head of the snakes. But those things, they remain because these jewels can be gem encrusted jewels, so they just stayed there. So this is like the way he dresses up Shiva is such a great lesson in Auchitya and how to do it to a sannyasi. Shiva is, I don't even know what to call him. He's not a sannyasi, he's something more. And how do you dress up a sannyasi but not make him look stupid or foolish, or there is absolutely no anauchitya here. And there is nothing like this. And the only other instance that I can think of such a great transformation or a makeup is probably our own Kumaravyasa in the Kumaravyasa Bharata in the Aranya Parva. In Kiratarjuniya, Shiva and Parvati dress as hunters, Kiratas, and go out to playfully challenge Arjuna. And when Shiva goes out, his whole retinue goes out, and like Shrutiga, Uliga, and the Tarka Shastras became the nets, because Tarka is a Shastra which is used to snare someone, and Tarka became a kind of a net, like what hunters use. Shrutiga, Uliga, and then something like this. So Shrutis are the servants, because you can't achieve anything with them, and they are just to help you there, and so on. And then Shravana Mananada Bisuvale. Shravana and Manana are just to cast, they are just to cast, because then you have to catch something. You might not catch anything by doing Shravana and Manana. This is a very great spiritual transformation of this whole Shivaganas and the Vedas and everything going with Shiva. And that makeup probably, according to me, I have not read too much, but that is probably the only thing that comes close to this brilliant transformation of Shiva. And he says in the next one, Divapi Nishtyuta Marichi Bhasa. Even though it is daylight, he's got a Chandrakala which is emitting such brilliant rays even during daytime. And it is blemishless because he's wearing only a digit of the moon, only a Chandrakala. So there isn't even a blemish. And it's so bright. Kim Grahanam Harasya. Chudamane Kim Grahanam Harasya. Of what use is a Chudamani or some kind of head ornament to Shiva? Because Parvati Ramana is Chandrachuda Shiva Shankara. He is Chandrachuda Shiva Shankara. So he does not need another ornament on his head when the Chandrakala is already there, and that is now looking like a radiant jewel, his own Chandrakala, and dazzling with all splendor there. And now Parvati looked at herself after all her makeup in a mirror. It's after all fair that Shiva should just do the same, and let us see how Shiva does it.
इत्यद्भुतैकप्रभवः प्रभावात् इत्यद्भुतैकप्रभवः प्रभावात् प्रसिद्धनेपथ्यविधेर्विधाता प्रसिद्धनेपथ्यविधेर्विधाता आत्मानमासन्नगणोपनीते आत्मानमासन्नगणोपनीते खड्गे निषक्तप्रतिमं ददर्श खड्गे निषक्तप्रतिमं ददर्श ददर्श
Prabhavat prasiddha nepatya vidher-vidhata. This is how he calls Shiva here. Through his Prabhavat prasiddha nepatya vidher-vidhata. He is one who can create his own decorations any way he wants. They don't have to exist in nature, and he can create it himself. And the poet in the first sarga itself of Kumarasambhavam, he says, when Shiva was doing tapas, he says, Swayam vidhata tapasah phalanam kenapi kamena tapaschachara. Why was Shiva doing tapas? Because he is Swayam vidhata tapasah phalanam. He can create the boons to give to anyone who does tapas. Then what is he doing the tapas for? He's doing the tapas for something that we don't know, but he can create, not just give. He's not pradata, he's vidhata, he's the creator of any new boons. And similarly, if he can create any boons for any asuras or any devas, can't he just create ornamentation for himself? He can. But he still goes through all this because this is dharma, this is the ritual, and this has to be followed. And after all this, he also looks at himself. And how does he do it? Atmanamasanna ganopanite. There was somebody next to him, one of his ganas, the Shiva ganas, and that gana, he goes and brings a big sword. Khadge nishaktam pratimam dadarsha. Nishakta pratimam dadarsha. In the blade of that sword, he saw himself just once. This is a great kshatriya tradition where the sword represents them. And he's going to marry a kshatriya kanya. Peace does not come free. It does not come for free. And today we have strayed far away from this. In fact, yesterday Prasanna Ganapathi was talking about Turgol and some of these, and these Veeragallus and the shasanas that exist in Karnataka. There is another kind of a shasana, Veeragallu kind of a thing, called Nettar Patti. Nettar is Rakta, blood, and Patti is a stone. There was this tradition where when the Yodha, the warrior, comes back from the battle, they used to wash his knife, the blood-encrusted blade of the sword, and with that water as the arghya, they used to give him some land or something to live off. The villagers and the locals would be grateful to him for representing them in battle and saving them, or to go fetch back their cows or whatever was abducted or something. And this was the Kshatriya Parampara that we had in our lands, and warriors were adored like this. And even the kings, right? I mean, like they used to send there. I've heard that the sword was sent as the representative, as the king for marriage and so on. So, and rightfully Shiva does not use a mirror. It would have appeared very pedestrian if Kalidasa had done that to Shiva too, after all this makeup. And he looks at his image in the on the blade of a sword, which is so beautiful. And also the other people in his retinue, even Kali, the Ghora Kali, right? Even she changed her appearance. Her black body now resembled a cloud, and the dark sky, the cloud, and the kapala, the garland of kapalas that she had, the white kapalas, now appeared like chakravakas, like the white cranes, and a black cloud emanates lightning, and the lightning were her jewels. They appeared to be her jewels, and so on. So So the transformation of the devas is extremely beautiful. And then Surya himself comes and holds the chhatri for Shiva. Imagine Surya, the one who causes the heat, is holding the chhatri for Shiva when he brings him. And the white cloth or the white things flowing off the chhatri, the sides of the chhatri, they appeared that tad dukulad vidura avidura maulir babhau patat ganga ivottamange, as if Ganga was flowing out from his matted locks. The white cloth, dangling in the breeze, fluttering in the breeze, looked like Ganga flowing off of the matted locks of Shiva. And then let's see what happens next.
तमभ्यगच्छत् प्रथमो विधाता श्रीवत्सलक्ष्मा पुरुषश्च साक्षात् श्रीवत्सलक्ष्मा पुरुषश्च साक्षात् जयेति वाचा महिमानमस्य जयेति वाचा महिमानमस्य संवर्धयन्तो हविषेव संवर्धयन्तो हविषेव वह्निम् एकैव मूर्तिर्बिभिदे त्रिधा सा एकैव मूर्तिर्बिभिदे त्रिधा सा सामान्यमेषां प्रथमावरत्वम् विष्णोर्हरः तस्य हरिः कदाचित् वेधास्तयोः तावपि धातुराद्यौ तावपि धातुराद्यौ आद्यौ आद्यौ
Tam abhyagachat pratamo vidhata. First Brahma comes over and Srivatsa Lakshma Purushascha Sakshat. He said Jaya Jaya Jayeti Vacha Mahimanamasya. When Brahma said Jaya Jaya, Kalidasa says Samvardhayanto Havisheva Vanhim. It increased more. The Jaya Jayakara increased as though they were pouring the Havis into the Agni. And why is that? Because when Brahma said Jaya, then the other Devas and nearby whoever was there, they also said Jaya, 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 and then it echoed and echoed and echoed and built up. And everybody said Jaya. So Agni is like the Tejas. Shiva already is a Sanketa of Tejas and the brilliance. And when Brahma said Jaya, Jaya, everybody said Jaya, Jaya. Now, why did Brahma say Jaya? Right? I mean, is Shiva greater than Brahma? What about Vishnu? Is Vishnu greater than Shiva? Who is greater? The poet answers that in the next one. Ekaiva murtir bibidhe tridhasa. This is just one murti, and there are three forms of it. Samanyamesham prathamavaratvam Vishnor harastasya harih kadachid vedastasyo stavapi dhaturadyo. Sometimes Brahma takes the lead and the other two follow, and sometimes Vishnu takes the lead, and sometimes Shiva takes the lead, and sometimes these two are in forward and Brahma takes the back seat. What it means is that the whole thing, the Trimurti Tattva that Kalidasa is saying here, it is all just one. And they are all just metaphors of different things. For creation, the metaphor is called Brahma, and for sustenance, it's called Vishnu, and for dissolution, it's called Shiva. And Kalidasa also has referred to this in many other places in Raghuvamsha. Tubhyam Tredhas Titatmane, and then Namas Trimurtaye Tubhyam, where he says they're all the same. Even Banabhatta in his Kadambari says the same thing. Rajo Jushe Janmani Sattva Vrittaye, and like it's all part of that one concept of Parabrahman, and these are all just manifestations of that for different tasks. They just head different departments, something like that. Right? And it's pointless to like argue whether which one is greater. I mean, water exists in liquid, solid, and gas. So now that everybody is here and Shiva comes and joins them, and they're now ready to leave for Oshadhi Prastha, he greets them.
कंपेन मूर्ध्नः शतपत्रयोनिं वाचा हरिं वृत्रहणं स्मितेन आलोकमात्रेण सुरान् अशेषान् आलोकमात्रेण सुरानशेषान् सम्भावयामास यथा प्रधानम् यथा
Now that they are ready to leave, Shiva comes over and he has to meet and greet everyone, like the bride, the groom's party, the Dibna is about to leave and they have to start. How does he greet them? There are 33 crore devatas. Kampena murdnaha shatapatra yonim. He just nodded. Kampena murdnaha. He just nodded his head and acknowledged Brahma. Shatapatra yoni. He just nodded and said, oh yeah. He just nodded his head. You understand what it means. Vacha harim. With a word, he just greeted Hari. Tindiyaita. Vandira. Vritrahanam smitena. Vritrahana is Indra. Smitena, because he is the king of the Devas. And with just a smile. Vritrahanam smitena. Aloka matrena suran asheshan. Asheshan suran. The remaining Devas, he just looked at them once. And that was it. And that is all he did. You can't blame Shiva. This itself would take up more time. And there is also something like propriety. Right? There is also, we see this everywhere. You can't treat everybody the same. You can't please everyone. And you should obviously not treat everyone the same, because somebody obviously is going to get offended, or it is just not practical. So, if you want to tell a story and if you want to tell the same story to everyone, they'll get bored. You should tell the story what a kid wants. You should tell that story to a kid, what somebody else wants based on the scenario and so on. But this is a great example of auchitya that Kalidasa shows. I mean, see, I don't know where Kalidasa got these ideas, but these are just things that happen. I mean, when the groom's party starts, and if there are 50 people in the groom's house about to leave, He can't just go and talk to everyone. They're like, chala chanagideera, let's go. That's it. And that is exactly what he's doing. And they start their journey, and Shiva mounts Nandi, and they start going through the clouds. And let's see how Nandi was.
शब्द चामी कर किंकिणीकः खेलगामी तमुवाह वाह सशब्द चामी कर किंकिणीकः तटाभिघातादिव लग्नपङ्क्ते तटाभिघातादिव लग्नपङ्के धुन्वन्वन्मुहुः क्रोतघने विषाणे धुन्वन्मुहुः क्रोतघने विषाणे क्रोतघने विषाणे.
So Nandi is Shiva's mount, and he is so happy to be carrying his master Shiva for the wedding. Right? This is not the time of buses or TTs, and all the devatas are just following in their own mounts, their own vahanas. Khelagami. There is some very nice alliteration that Kalidasa has used here. K means Akasha, in the sky. Akasha. Khelagami. He's putting a sportive gait. He's like, walking with happiness. Like Nandi is walking. Khelagami. Tam vaha. Vahaha tam uaha. Vahaha, that vehicle, tam uaha. He took him forward. He took him there. Sashabda chamikara kinkinikahan. Because of that sportive gait, the bell that is tied to Nandi's neck is making a jingling sound, a very beautiful sound. And how is he looking? And he's like, if you see the bulls, right, they try to, they're as if they're goring something in the air or something. Tatabhikata lagnapanke dhunvanmuhu protaghane vishane. He is trying to push the clouds out of his way. He's trying to, as though there is like some wet mud or something, some keseru, some dirt has stuck to his horns, and when it happens, the bulls are very annoyed. They try to go rub it somewhere, they do all these things to shake it off their horns, and that is how it looks, as if he's gotten something, but he's like trying to move out the clouds and walking so happily with Shiva, and he's taking Shiva forward. And how fast are they going? The poet says this very beautifully. Haradrishti patai suvarna sutrairiva krishyamana. Shiva is looking at Oshadi Prastha, which is there, and he's looking at it, and his drishti itself, his view itself is like suvarna sutraihi, as if they are golden strings, and he's pulling them with his eyes. If you've seen some of these old, in some places, remote places, there are boats where there are no oars to row the boats. They have a ropeway, and then whoever is in the boat has to pull the rope to go that side. And with his eyes, his sight, and his drishti as the golden strings, he's as though he's like thrusting and propelling the whole party and trying to reach Oshadi Prastha faster, and that's what the poet says. Now, the whole retinue, the groom's party has reached Oshadit Prastha. They come to the gates, and let us see how the bridal party welcomes them and how it looks.
वर्गावुभौ देवमहीधराणा द्वारेऽस्य घटितापि भाने वर्गावुभौ देवमहीधराणा घटितापि भाने समीयतुः दूरविसर्पि घोषौ भिन्नैकसेतु पयसामिवौघौ भिन्नैकसेतु पयसामिवौघौ पयसामिवौघौ.
So both the parties are coming and meeting at the city gates of Oshadit Prastha, and Himavanta, obviously, he has come to the city gates itself to receive the party, and not at his house, but he has come all the way to the city gates, and that's where they meet. And the poet says how that meeting looked. Varga Ubhau Deva Mahidharanam. The Ubhau Vargo, the two groups, are the Devas and the Mahidharas. The Mahidharas are the Parvatas group, and the Devas. They are making a lot of din and the hustle, bustle. There is a noise, and then like Jaya Jayakaras, and like making sounds, and they are so happy and festive. And you can hear it far and wide. And how did it look? This imagery is beautiful. Bhinnaika setu payasami voghau. It was like two great streams of rivers crashing under one bridge. Bhinnaika setu payasami voghau. I just have to give you the example of maybe Devaprayag or something where you see Alakananda and Bhagirathi come on one side and the other side. The turbid, muddy waters of the Alakananda and the crystal clear, the cerulean blue waters of the Bhagirathi, they meet there in Devaprayag, and you can see that. There is a ashrama and everything there, a lot of viewpoints, and you can see that. And the water doesn't mix immediately. Even though it comes and hits each other, the two streams, they don't mix. Water doesn't mix. For a few meters or a few hundred meters, it's still in the process of mixing. And I think this imagery is so beautiful because this is how the groom's party and the bride's party also interact. When they first meet, they're like, oh, hello, hello. And then for a day, they're like, you're still mingling. And then like, oh, they're also related to us. Oh, we went to school together. By the end of the marriage, they're all together. There is no bride side and groom side. They're all just one. And 100 meters later, that's just how the river looks. Ganga, that's how it looks when Alakananda and Bhagirathi mix. And I thought that's why the tone in the imagery of why he used rivers, it's fantastic. And even in Kudli, when Tunga and Bhadra mix, you can see because of the slight coloration, the discoloration of the difference in colors, you can see it a little bit for a short while. But Alakananda and Bhagirathi, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. And so now that they meet, now Himavanta has to welcome the party, and let us see how he welcomes them.
विमानभूद्भूमिधरो हरेण त्रैलोक्यवन्द्येन कृतप्रणामः श्रीमानभूद्भूमिधरो हरेण त्रैलोक्यवन्द्येन कृतप्रणामः पूर्वं महिम्ना सहितस्य दूरं पूर्वं महिम्ना सहितस्य दूरम् आवर्जितं नात्मशिरो विवेद आवर्जितं नात्मशिरो विवेद विवेद विवेद
Beautiful Ananda Bhairavi. This is such a beautiful scene. You don't know how Kalidasa could think of these imageries. Hrimana Bhut Bhumidharo Harena. Bhumidhara, it is Himavanta. He saw that Trailokya Vandena Krita Pranama. Harena Trailokya Vandena Krita Pranama. When Shiva came in, he bowed down to his would-be father-in-law. He bows down to him. But who is Shiva? Trailokya Vandyena. The one who is bowed down to by the three words, bowed down to Himavanta. So what happened to Himavanta? Hriman, he became Lajja. He ashamed, like, oh, such a great person is bowing down to me. But that is his station. It is expected in this situation that Shiva bows down to him. But it is natural that Himavanta did feel ashamed. Oh, one whom everybody bows down is bowing down to me. That's a beautiful scene. But then the poet says something which elevates this poem to a different level. Purvam mahimna sahitasya duram avarjitam natmashiro viveda. Himavanta himself forgot that when he first saw Shiva from afar, he himself had bowed down to him. He forgot it because when you see somebody great, we bow down to them with a reflex action. We are not doing it for some Instagram or some selfie or waiting for cameras. We just bend our heads immediately. We don't even care if that person sees us or not. It is a reflex action. And he says, Natma Shiro Viveda. He forgot that he had already done it. He had done it before Shiva himself bowed down to him, but he is feeling ashamed that Shiva is bowing down to him. This is such a natural scene and so beautifully painted by Kalidasa here. And then Shiva, he welcomes Shiva with all the rites and ceremonies, and then they start walking down to the palace and they go through the Rajamarga, which is Agulpa Kirnapana Marga Pushpam. The Apana Marga Pushpam, the main street lined with major stores and whatever, the malls and everything, MG Road of Poshadi Prastha. And they start walking there, and it was strewn with flowers, Agulpa Kirna, till the ankle, everywhere the flowers were strewn. And there is some very dynamic imagery here. And what happened to the people who were in those streets? And Kalidasa even captures that. And let us see how a few of those people behaved.
विलोचनं दक्षिणमञ्जनेन सम्भाव्य तद्वञ्चितवामनेत्रा तथैव वातायन सन्निकर्षम् तथैव वातायन सन्निकर्षम् ययौ शलाकामपरा वहन्ति वातायन सन्निकर्षम् ययौ शलाकाम् अपरा वहन्ति.
So there are a lot of people in these buildings, in these houses on the main street, and suddenly they heard this din. Oh, Gandin Kadiyor Bandru Bandru, the groom's party is here, and everybody rushes to see. That's the excitement because nobody would have seen them earlier. And he captures the dynamism of the people who are rushing to see him. And one of them is Vilochanam Dakshinam Anjanena. So one of these girls has only put the cardige, the collyrium, on one of her eyes, and she has not put it on the other eye. But she heard this and she left running, not caring how she appeared, and she went to the window to see, even with that brush in her hand, the Shalakam Apara Vahanti, the Shalakam Vahanti. She still carried that, and then with her still here, and then she's going and seeing, oh, where is he, right? Another girl who is he says all of these people Tyatyanya Karyani Vicheshtitani, they Tyattani Karyani, they gave up whatever they were doing. Another girl, her feet were being painted with alta or alatige, somebody was painting them, and she heard this. Akshipya Kachit Dravaragameva, she snatched her foot from that lady with the wet paint, Dravaraga is wet paint, and ran to the window. And the poet says, Utrushta Leelagatir Agavakshat Alakta Kamsham Padavim Tatana. And she made footprints, the colored footprints, all the way to the window, wherever the window was. And it's like footprints because it was still wet. She should have waited. It's like, you have mehendi on your hand, and somebody comes and you're so excited that you just go and hug them or shake their hands, not even thinking or caring what happens. And this is so beautiful because this shows the palpable excitement that was there. How do you capture this excitement? You have to give different imageries and say why it happened. And these girls, they did not care how they looked because they wanted to Shiva. That's the exaggeration here. And that is how interested they were in seeing Shiva and his retinue and others. And they did not even care how they looked. So everybody is lining up the windows on these buildings, like all the windows. And the poet says, now the poet comes back to the street, and if you're looking from the street or if you're looking from Shiva and the Deva's angle, you're looking at all these people and all lined up in the windows. The poet compares each of them to lotuses, their face to lotuses. So each building with a lot of windows looks like a lotus pond. He says for the lotus faced ladies, every building looks like a lotus pond. And this is probably you can imagine the Hawa Mahal in Jaipur or something made with the red sandstone, which was actually made for such a purpose itself, for the Rani Vasa and the ladies in the Antapura to come out into the street and see processions. And the windows are very small. It is just for one person to stand in the window, a small gavaksha, to see what is happening. And the pink sandstone with the architecture sort of resembles this, and if it's inspired by this, it's a great inspiration. And these people, they drank the sights. Right? The poet says, Nayanai pibantyaha. You drink from your mouth, but but here you are drinking from your eyes. And sarvatmana chakshuriva pravishta. All their other organs, they are not doing anything with their hands. Whatever they are doing, they threw it away and came to the window. So hands are useless. They are just standing there and looking. They are not walking. They are not hearing anything. They are just looking here. So it's as if all the energy is concentrated in their eyes and they are able to completely drink in the sights. It must have been a good time before the cameras and phones, I guess, but this is how attentive people were. And let's see what they were talking about Shiva and Parvati.
सा दास्यमप्यस्य लभेत नारी या दास्यमप्यस्य लभेत नारी सा स्यात् कृतार्था किमुताङ्कशय्या सा स्यात् कृतार्था किमुताङ्कशय्या किमुत अङ्कशय्या
So they're watching this with such rapt attention. They're not thinking of anything else. You can remember a verse by Kumarasambhavam, Madisidele berolage, Adasidele baayolage. When they saw Draupadi in the Swayamvara, they forgot. The Kambula was right there. They forgot to eat it when they saw her and so on. And these girls are wowed by the whole group, the groom's group. And they start, oh, Parvati, Parvati, this is the groom that Parvati was waiting for. They are made for each other. And how lucky is Parvati, what they say? Ya dasyamapyasya labheta nari. If you do tapas and even become a dasi of Shiva, it would have been worth it. But syat kritartha kimutamka sharyam. But she earned the right to sit on his lap and eventually shared half his body. We would have just, anybody else would have just, been grateful if they could just become a dasi to Shiva. And what to say of someone like Parvati? They are made for each other, and all these girls were so happy for her. And this is something that, they are talking amongst themselves. It's not some praise that they are telling someone. So when you tell someone in privacy, it's usually our innermost thoughts, and it's always true, and that's the dhvani there. And then he says, Patyuh prajanam vipalo bhavishyat. If such a jodi, such a conjunction hadn't happened, Patyuhu prajanam vipalo abhavishyat. Brahma's creation of these two itself would have been wasted. If they are made so much for each other that, Brahma's work would have been wasted. And then let's go to, and then Himavanta offers Madhuparka to Shiva. Madhuparka is offered to certain people, a lot of stuff in the Dharma Shastras and everywhere about that, whom to offer it to, Ritviks, Snatakas, the king, and then the son-in-law, father-in-law, and so on. He offers him, and then he offers him the vastra to wear for the wedding, usually called Sankalike Panche, something like that. And then, so Shiva has to take that, and he goes and wears it and comes. Let us see how he approaches.
समीपं स्फुटफेन राजिः न वैरुदन्वानिव चन्द्रपादैः न वैरुदन्वानिव चन्द्रपादैः
such a beautiful scene. So now Shiva is wearing the dukula that his father-in-law has given him, and he is approaching the bride. So Parvati is already sitting there in the Vedi Mandapa that we said earlier, and Saha Vadhu Samipam Ninye. He approached the Vadhu, Parvati. And how he approached, that is the beauty of this. The poet is comparing Shiva to Udanvan, which is Samudra, the sea, and Parvati is the Vela, the shore, the seashore. Now the sea breaks up in waves and approaches the shore, and that is how, and Sputaphena Raji. So the foamy bubbles, the white bubbles, right, that rise up in the sea near the shore, they come and wash the shore and come on the shore. That is the dukula, the white dukula that he is wearing, the white Sankalike Panche that he is wearing. And that is why he is comparing him to Sputapena Raji Udanvan, that is the sea with the white foamy, and that is Shiva. And he is approaching the Vadhu Parvati, who is the shore. And how does the sea, why does the sea approach the shore? It is because of the tides of the moon, the gravitational pull and everything. And that he says, the Navaih Chandrapadaihi. So the Chandrapada, the moon's force, he attributes that to the sea. And here in this scenario for Shiva, it is the Vinitaihi Avarodha Dakshaihi, the close family of Parvati and the other elders. They are very gently nudging Shiva to, like, okay, this way, Ilbani, Himbani, come here. And they are slowly bringing him there. Nobody is pushing him. There is no touch. Similarly, with the sea coming to the shore, there is no touch. It's just the force, right? The force that is pulling the sea. And similarly here, the people who are guiding are like the close friends of Parvati or the elders who are saying, Ikade Bani. And this is like a complete Savayava Rupaka, where Shiva with his Dukula is the Sputapena Raji, Samudra, Parvati is the Vela or the banks of the sea, and the people guiding Shiva is the Chandrapada or the rays of the moon. And this is like a complete Rupaka, a metaphor, so beautiful. And also because she is looking so beautiful there, this is Sharat Kala, and then all the ceremonies start, and we'll see the first one now. Shiva and Parvati, Shiva is brought here, there is Antahpata, where they see each other for the first time, and then when it is removed, they are looking at each other with so much of shyness, and their eyes glance each other, and then immediately their glances fall down, They want to see each other, but they are a little shy. And then, their glances linger for a second and then fall down. And then her father, Tasyah Karam Shaila Guru Panitam. So Himavanta takes his daughter's hand, and then her Tamrangulim Ashtamurti Jagraha. He gave her hand to Shiva. This is the Panigrahana. And this is the poster that, in the poster that you see, the picture of Panigrahana was the sculpture from Ellora Caves, very beautifully designed by Aparna. So when he gave it the Tamrangulim, you can see why the Tamranguli is, it's reddish in color, either because she was flushed, shy because he's holding it for the first time due to alaktike and everything. But the poet gives a different reason. Umatano gudhatano smarasya tachankinah purva miva praroham. So now you must remember that Manmatha was burnt by Shiva. And it was said that they'll tell Rati that, Manmatha will come back to life, don't worry, so on, so on. Now Manmatha, as though this is the first sprout of Manmatha coming back to life in her hand, and the sprouts look red, the ankura, the molake looks reddish in color, and that is why her hands were red. And also you can imagine that Manmatha, being so scared of Shiva, had gone and hid in Parvati's body. More than Shiva, he had hid in Parvati's body because he was scared of Shiva who had burnt him. And during Panigrahana now, they do say the verse from Ramayana, Iyam Sita Mamasuta Sahadharmachari Tava, so on. And that is from the Balakanda of the Ramayana and also some of the suttas from the Vivaha Sutta. And when Shiva held Parvati's hand, Romodgamah Pradurabhut Umayaha Svinangulih Pungava Keturasit. So Parvati experienced Romodgama, Romanchana, goosebumps, her hair standing on end when Shiva held it, because the first time he held her hand. And Shiva, Svedanguli, he perspired, his hands perspired a little. There are these Ashtavikara, Stamba Svedota, Romanchaha, and so on, all these Ashtavikara. Vikara is just a transformation in the body that happens when you experience something like this. And so beautifully the poet has divided, one for each of them. They both experience those changes. They both experience that, Manmatha was in both of them, even though he says he was there. And they both experienced this, and when Shiva held her hands in the Panigrahana. And
प्राहत वैशवत्से वधूं द्विजप्राहत वैशवत्से वह्निर्विवाहं प्रति कर्मसाक्षी शिवेन भर्त्रा सह धर्मचर्या शिवेन भर्त्रा सह धर्मचर्या कार्यात्वया मुक्तविचारयेति कार्यात्वया मुक्तविचारयेति मुक्तविचारयेति
after the Panigrahana, they do Laja Homa. Everything as today, everything was there. They do the Laja Homa, and then just like today, they even say Sumanth, Riyam, Vadhu, Imam, Same, Tapashyata. Everybody, see the girl and bless her. And then Brahma is the Purohita, because Brahma, one from whose 4 heads the 4 Vedas emerged, he is the Purohita for Shiva's wedding. And he says, he offers his blessings, the first blessings, and he says, Vanhir Vivaham Prati Karma Sakshi. So for your Vivaha, it was done with Agni Sakshi. They go around the sacred fire, Agni, and the marriage has happened in front of Yagneshwara. And Agni is the Sakshi. Shivena Bhartra Saha Dharmacharya. And with Shiva, Dharmacharya Karya Tvaya Kartavya. You have to walk in the path of Dharma and do Dharma along with Shiva. And why Dharma? Dharma is because Dharayati iti Dharmaha. That is what sustains. If everybody does what they want, it is not sustainable. And to achieve some kind of a global equilibrium or some optimum point, there is some rules that everybody has to set. And that is what Dharma is, for sustainability of everyone. And if one person moves around, then the whole thing will collapse. And that is why Dharma has to be upheld at all times. And he tells her, Shivena Bhartra Saha Dharmacharya Karya Vicharayeti. You have to walk in the path along with Shiva and do all the Dharma Karyas and do everything with Dharma. And then so after all these, there is the Dhruva Darshana, the Dhruva and the Arundhati. Today we just call it Arundhati Darshana, but it's Dhruva Arundhati Darshana. And they showed her the Dhruva. Why do they show Dhruva? Dhruva is the pole star. It's the fixed reference around which the whole cosmos revolves. It's the fixed point. And that is why they showed it to her, because that is how you should be. And with that sthairya, with that confidence, and everything will revolve around you, because now she is not just Parvati, they are going to be called Uma Maheshwara. And when they show it to her, she's so shy, she's overcome by shyness that she can't even lift her head. So she says, Sa Drishta iti Anana Unnamaya. Her gaze is still down, but she just lifts her head and says, No, yeah, I saw, that's it. She does not even look up, but she's so shy that she says, no, yeah, I saw it, that's it. And the poet beautifully describes that. And then finally all the devas and everybody, they bless her, and let us see how the blessings were.
प्रयुक्तेन च वाङ्मयेन सरस्वती तन्मिथुनं नुनावा द्विधा प्रयुक्तेन च वाङ्मयेन सरस्वती तन्मिथुनं नुनावा संस्कारपूतेन वरं वरेण्यं संस्कारपूतेन वरं वरेण्यं वधू सुखग्राह्य निबन्धनेन सुखग्राह्य निबन्धनेन सरस्वती तन्मिथुनं नुनावा
So Saraswati blessed them in Saraswati Raga, and Brahma blesses them and says Veera Mata Bhava, so that because that is the whole point of this Mahakavya, that to slay Tarakasura, Kumara has to be born. And then Saraswati, this is a very beautiful verse. Vidha prayuktena vangmayena Saraswati nunava. She wished them and blessed them in two ways, two different ways. The poet doesn't say what she wished or what she blessed and what she said. He just says how she said it. And one that she wished Shiva was Samskara Putena Varam Varenyam, that Varenya of all the Varas. Shiva, she spoke to him in Samskara Putena, in that most civilized and cultured tongues, in pure Sanskrit, chaste, grammatical, and like something. And then Vadhu Sukhagrahya Nibandadena. And for the Vadhu, she wished in something that was like very, very easily followable, very, very something heartfelt and touching that we do in colloquial language. And there is no difference in that. There is a lot of fight about purity, grammar Nazis, and oh, language has to be this way, that way, Samskrita, Prakrita, which came first, and so on. It's like, somebody who wants to appease Shiva saying, Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam, and so on. And another person saying, Sharanambe Shivanige, Sharanambe Guruvige, Sharanambe Shivana Madadige. They both carry the same meaning. And you are praying to gods in two ways, but they are one and the same. And that is what he's saying. Parvati wished each one of them in two different ways. He doesn't say what she said. That's the beauty. So next. So after the wedding, there has to be some entertainment. So Kalidasa says what it was.
सन्धिषु व्यञ्जितवृत्तिभेदम् रसान्तरेषु प्रतिबद्धरागम् अपश्यतामप्सरसां मुहूर्तम् अपश्यतामप्सरसां मुहूर्तम् प्रयोगमाद्यं ललिताङ्गहारम्
So after the wedding, for a muhurta. Muhurta is like 48 minutes. It's for a short while. Apashyatam apsarasam prayoga madhyam. So the apsaras put up some entertainment, which was the adyam, the first play. It was a natya and a show, a play for the entertainment of the audience. And I won't try to explain this because there are too many words from Natya Shastra which require a more detailed explanation. But they saw a play. And even today you see in weddings there is some kind of entertainment, some kind of music, which almost nobody tries to listen. But, so on, right? But why a play, right? I mean, is it just entertainment? Could be, it is just entertainment. But then the Natya, as Kalidasa himself says in the Malavika Agnimitra, Devanam idamamananti munayaha kantam kratum chakshusham. Right now they appeased Yagneshwara and did all the sacrifices. But Natya is a kantam kratum chakshusham. It is a yajna for the eyes. And with a yajna you get a lot of phala. But in this yajna, the Natya, you get the phala immediately, which is rasa. Immediate appeasement of this. And so they did all that, which is like all the Vedic rituals, and now this is a Laukika one for everyone, and to get immediate benefit from the yajna, which is Natya. And Shiva himself says, I mean, in the same verse, Udreneda Mumakritav Vyatikare Swange Vibhaktam Vida, and he himself has split his body to show the different forms of dance and so on. And Natya, of course, is an exalted imitation of the world itself. And Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam. Shiva is just seeing his own Leela in front of him, and the Natya is just a microcosm of the world. And that is how Kalidasa says the entertainment took place. And with that, we come to the end of this presentation. One big lopa or lacuna that Kalidasa did here was that he forgot that we are mortals who are reading this. And what mortals like is Mishtanna Mitare Janaha. He forgot to say what the foods were, what the bhakshas were, what Himavanta did to appease all of us. Because they are not just devas. The devas are useless. They don't experience hunger or anything. They don't eat. But we are mere mortals, and we would have loved to see what they ate. And he is deprived us of that. I'm sure Prasanna Ganapathi and Asha Ganapathi will set it right soon on behalf of Himavant's family.
Absolutely.
And that we come to the end of it. Let's end with a Mangal.
प्रवर्ततां प्रकृतिहिताय पार्थिवः सरस्वती श्रुतिमहती महीयतां ममापि च क्षपयतु नीललोहितः पुनर्भवम् ममापि च क्षपयतु नीललोहितः पुनर्भवम् परिगतशक्तिरात्मभूः
May I request that they be given another round of applause. This request was actually on behalf of our lovely audience online who have been with us for the last 2+ hours. Okay, thank you all. So in fact, that's the reason I requested the live audience here to sort of applaud right on your behalf. Thank you all for joining. Many of you have been joining from many other places, including Bangalore and other places. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Maybe end the live stream.